U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick says Washington and China have finalized the trade understanding reached last month in Geneva. The deal sets out terms from earlier talks, but still depends on future actions.
So the China deal, we inked the deal. You remember we had a trip to Geneva, and then that was being slow played. We got back together in London, and that deal was signed and sealed 2 days ago.
Our China correspondent Minmin joins us now, along with our Bloomberg News Desk editor Jill Desis. And Minmin, let's start off with you. What do we know about this deal? Because it feels a little bit like, London was an extension of the agreement made in Geneva, and now perhaps this deal is a formalisation of what we already knew. Do we have further details or substantive progress?
Yeah, it came as a bit of a surprise overnight when President Trump announced that he had signed a deal with China. But actually, so far, we haven't heard anything from the Chinese side to confirm this. So still waiting for details on that. But Howard Lutnick, Secretary of Commerce, had said that this is basically a codification of the agreements that were made in the Geneva talks and the London talks. We know that for now, tariffs will remain at 55% for China, inclusive of the pre-existing tariffs before Trump's second term. And it will be 10% on the U.S. The two sides had also agreed at the London talks that China will continue to send rare earths to the United States, and Howard Lutnick said that in exchange for that, U.S. will roll back some of these countermeasures. Among them would be rolling back the limitations placed on the export of ethane to China, and that's a chemical that China relies almost exclusively on the U.S. It's critical for plastics manufacturing. Already we are seeing some plastics factories in China really at risk of closure because of this. But aside from ethane, that is just one part of the equation, right? You think about what's top of mind. It's the chip curbs, the chips design software, jet engine parts. Are these going to be part of the deal as well? And we simply don't have the information now.
Yeah, critical sectors that we're watching. But Min, I wonder as well, have you seen recently some signs of goodwill gestures from the Chinese side, including on restrictions on fentanyl? And does that in any way inform whether they will actually deliver these rare earths?
Yes, we did see China quietly added a couple more ingredients of fentanyl into a restricted list. So China is making some effort to try to meet the demands of the U.S. So there is some level of goodwill going on. Although the Middle East conflict threw things into haywire again, China was extremely critical of U.S. actions in the Middle East. But meantime, I think it's quite interesting the timing of this deal actually front-running the other countries. We know that U.S. is still trying to come up with trade deals with all the rest of the world, with the deadline coming up on July 9th, less than 2 weeks from now. But with the Chinese deal, the deadline was in August for the temporary truce to expire, and yet both the two countries had gone ahead and signed this deal way ahead of the deadline. So that's really interesting. But you look at how markets has been responding so far, you look at how futures were trading, actually pretty muted, and it shows that if tariffs had ratcheted up in August, that's really going to be a negative surprise. But I think investors are already pricing in the expectation that things are going to remain status quo. And that's what we are hearing now. It doesn't seem like there are huge breakthroughs from this deal. They are just putting into words and codifying whatever they had already agreed on. So not much actually has changed.